Welcome to Camp Consrtitution Radio with your host, Hal Shurtleff. This show is heard on WBCQ The Planet every Monday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I have a couple of guests, very special guests with me today. But before I introduce them, I'll let you know that this show is sponsored by Camp Consrtitution, which, among all things, runs a weekly family, week and a day long family summer camp in the beautiful Toanipi Christian Retreat Center in Ringe, New Hampshire. We just had a camp 2 weeks ago. Next year's camp will be from July 10th to the 17th. And this show, by the way, we usually discuss the Constitution, things related to the Constitution, current events, issues of the day, educational issues. And we also like to every so often bring on some people who have experienced the summer camp program. And these two special guests, one of them is my daughter, Christina, who is 15 years of age, and her friend, Madeline, who's both of them are camp veterans. So how you doing, ladies?
Good.
So you just came to camp, and Christine, how many camps have you attended?
All of them.
All of them, meaning we've had 7 of them.
So 7.
7 camps, okay. How about you, Madeline?
5, I think.
5 camps, and your mom actually serves as a camp nurse, and I think your brothers also come. Well, every camp is a little different, some different instructors, different experiences, but just share with the millions of listeners out there all over the world. And Christina's been on the radio before. I don't think Madeline's ever been. So she says, what, millions of listeners? Well, probably not millions, but maybe hundreds of thousands. So Madeline, just explain. If you were trying to encourage people to come, what would you say?
You learn about the Constitution. It's just to learn more about it, and it's very exciting to be there.
What about the Constitution? That sounds kind of boring. Is it boring?
No.
Okay, what have you learned about the Constitution that you may have not? And you go to a public school, correct?
Yes.
And do you learn a lot about the Constitution in a public school?
No.
Now, you're 14, right? And you take, I know when I was 14, I knew we took, in the 8th grade, I learned a lot about the Constitution. So what grade are you in?
I'm going into 9th.
Going to 9th grade. Did you take any Constitution at all in the 8th grade?
In the beginning of the year, we started to learn about the Constitution, but then it was only for maybe 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Right. Now, do you think you got more out of a week like camp than you would have in your school on the Constitution?
Yes.
It's a little clearer. It's not some kind of document written in some strange language that can only be interpreted by scholars that sit on top of a hill with robes, right?
Yeah.
Now, does it make a difference to you whether the Constitution isn't important?
Yes.
Why is it important?
Because you can educate yourself more.
And now I'm hoping that you plan to be a freedom activist, and you already are to some extent. You helped out at the parade. You passed out constitutions, right? You know how many 14-year-olds pass out constitutions to people?
Not that many.
Not too many, that's right. So what type of activities outside of the classes have you enjoyed?
We have recreation time, and some of them include volleyball, wiffle ball, and one day we went on a hike, and that was really fun. You went on the hike up to Mount Monadnock, right?
A little bit of a challenge, right? Now, do you tell your friends, some of your friends, when you I know you have a lot of friends at camp, but do you tell your friends about your camp experiences when you get back home? Encourage them to come?
Well, a couple of them ask me, what we do there, and I tell them, and they're like, oh, I'll ask my mom if I can go, and some of them ask, but
yeah,
I don't think they do.
It's usually if the parents can get excited about it, and then that sometimes the children will attend. But if the child says, "Hey, Mom, can I get to a camp for a week?" and they don't know who we are, and I don't blame them, because I don't know if I'd send my children to someplace if I don't know who the camp is. So the best way to get to know us is to visit our website, campconstitution.net, and also you will see a link to our YouTube channel, and you'll be able to see some of the fun things that we do, some of the educational things. And I think learning can be fun if it's done right. Every instructor is different, and everyone has their own style. But I like to think our instructors are pretty fantastic. People like Earl Wall. Who's your favorite instructor at camp this year?
Probably Mr. Wallace.
Mr. Wallace. So what exactly did he do that you can remember, that you'll take home with you, that you'd be able to tell other people? Why was he your favorite instructor?
He
Other than being a cool guy who plays a guitar, but other than that, what exactly?
He passed out papers so you can
follow along with the class. So it was and he taught one of the classes was the biblical basis for the Bill of Rights, right?
Yeah.
So the Bill of Rights were based on godly principles, right? All the Bill of Rights. And what are the Bill of Rights? What? The first
10 amendments.
That's right. Well, it's interesting because during the parade, we were involved in the Flag Day parade in the town of Dedham, Massachusetts, which abuts Boston. We handed out 500 constitutions between the three or four of us, and it was a small parade. It wasn't some long 5-hour parade, but we asked one question to the people getting the constitutions, and that was, what are the first 10 amendments known as? And we all know it's the Bill of Rights, but most people, adults, middle-aged, old, young, most of them had no idea. Now, a few of them said, "Oh, yeah, that's right," but most of them didn't know, and it's kind of sad. But that's the reason why we exist and why we need to grow. So, Christina, you've been a veteran camper, every camp we've had, and so you were a little girl. You were about 10 or 9 or 10, and in fact, back then we didn't really have a good program for the young people, the 9 and 10 and 11-year-olds. We do now. They were basically with mom, with mom and doing the recreational things, but we didn't have a real. You went on the field trips as a 9 and 10-year-old, but you weren't participating in class. We didn't really have it. But the last 3 years, we've had something called Patriot Camp, which is, I think that young people get more out of it than the older people do. But you've been, you hope to be a counselor in a few years too, I imagine, right?
Yes.
So share some of your experiences with the millions of listeners.
So for recreation time, there's a lot. We go on field trips and we go on a hike, and it's really interesting to learn all the things on the field trip. This year we went to the Boston Tea Party Museum, and it was a lot of fun.
State House, Massachusetts.
And we went to the Massachusetts.
Yeah, the camp's in New Hampshire, but it's actually close to it's right on the Massachusetts border, and Boston is about, give or take an hour and a half, maybe a little bit longer of a ride. So we're able to do the all-day field trip and get back in time before it's too late.
For dinner.
So we went to the Tea Party Museum, which is the site of the original Tea Party, or close to it. And there's a couple of ships that were we call replicas of the Tea. There were 3 Tea Party ships, but there were only 2 here. And so we learned a little bit about the circumstances around that. But over the years, we've been on more than what other field trips can you remember that stick out in your mind?
Last year we went to the USS Consrtitution.
At Old Ironsides, and where else?
Lexington.
We've been to Lexington and Concord, and Lexington and Concord, the Uncle Sam boyhood home of Uncle Sam, St. Wilson, the New Hampshire State Capitol. Where else have we been to? Concord. We've been to Concord, to Lexington, the Bridge, Monroe Tavern. We've been to, where else? The Hancock Clark House. where John Hancock and Sam Adams where they were before the Battle of Lexington and Concord. I think the girls went to, who's the author? The Louisa May Alcott House. You remember that? Yeah. In the Concord Museum, and quite a few other places. So we don't want to go to the same place every year. We kind of mix it up a little bit. I think next year's camp we might return to Concord, Lexington, because we've got another batch of campers that have not been there, I think. And so you take a lot out of that. Being on a historic location is a little different. It's great to read about it in the book, but to actually be there in person.
It's easier to learn about it, to experience it and learn about it that way than just read about it.
Now, what about friendships? I know an important thing about anything you do is friendships. Have you made any what you call good friends from camp?
Yeah, so many. Everyone there is so welcoming and kind. Well, most people.
Well, we're not perfect. We're not camp perfect. We're Camp Constitution, but I think the important thing is that you make, I think, lifetime friendships. Because you're only 14 and 15, and you get a long way to go, but it's good that you keep in touch. And we do have a Facebook page that I wish more campers would use. I know most of you have friended each other on Facebook, but it'd be nice if we saw more participation at the Facebook page, only because it's just a way to keep in touch. And we do have some plans to have Camp Constitution clubs or community clubs where we would get together, campers would reach out to people in their circles. For example, let's say the two of you on the side start a Camp Constitution club. You find a host, somebody's house, could be this house, could be someone's house, and you might have pizza and show a video and have someone to speak. That's something that we want to start doing. In fact, I think we're going to start one in North Carolina. And it doesn't have to be just, teenagers. It could be people of all ages. And because a lot of people think we're just out there to have a week-long camp. It's just about a week of camp, and that's just a part of it, because we reach out, you pass out a couple of thousand constitutions at different venues, and then you encourage them to learn more about it, you challenge them, and you could change someone's life just by doing that, right, without ever having to step foot in the camp. We also would like to start other camps as well in different parts of the country. And that's what will become possible as we get more funding and more people involved in the camp program. So, anyway, what else have you had? If you were doing if someone would just come up to you and say, "Why should I go to that camp? Why should I spend a week at that camp? I'd rather go to a baseball camp or a cheerleader camp. That's a lot more fun than camp. Sit around and learn about stuff in classes. That sounds kind of boring. And it's hot, and why would I want to do that?"
I would say that everything, the camp all together for the week, it's really fun because you meet new friends, you have recreation time, so it's not all about classes. The classes aren't that long, and they're actually very interesting because most of the speakers have a way of just making it very, interesting to listen to and help you to understand it better. But, I would say if you're looking, and it's just a lot of fun altogether.
How about you, Madeline? Why should I spend a week, drive all that way up to New Hampshire and listen to a bunch of people talk about stuff when I could be hanging out on the beach or hanging out in the hood,
I would just say that instead of doing a baseball camp or some other camp, you could educate yourself and go to the Constitution camp and just learn about all the interesting stuff.
And by the way, we do have wiffle ball, don't we? So we can say wiffle ball. And this year we did something that was a little unexpected. One of the counselors teaches ballroom dancing and swing dancing and lying down, all that fun stuff. So she asked if they could have really a workshop. It wasn't part of the regular. It was during recreation time. Yeah. And, we said sure. And we had a lot of, I was surprised there was, 20 or more.
It was a lot of fun.
I'm thinking, gee, I thought you'd be out splashing in the lake or playing basketball or something else, but you guys were doing ball. Now, you didn't just do all ball the whole time, but there was like 3 or 4 days where you were doing all these. And I thought, wow. I think some of the adults were impressed because you weren't playing rap music or hard rock music, but it was the old band music and the old-fashioned stuff. And all of you guys were having a lot of fun.
We did the wall.
No slam dancing and that crazy stuff, right? You were waltzing. Yeah.
Swing dancing and the Virginia Reel.
That was pretty good. And I saw even Nathaniel. Nathaniel's getting into it. That's our son who was a counselor this year for the first year. Now, in addition to all the classes, the recreation, we mentioned the ballroom dancing. There's a beautiful lake. We have canoeing and swimming and hiking. What other things? There's all kinds of what we would call kind of nerdy things like chess tournaments. So you don't have to be an athlete necessarily. Nothing wrong with being an athlete, but there's other things. There are some people like to, play. Was there any other besides the chess? Was there any other type of? Was it backgammon? Backgammon tournaments. Foosball. Ping pong.
Gaga.
Now, what's Gaga? It sounds like something gets caught in your throat. What is? Maybe the name of that game is called something else in different parts of the country. But what exactly is Gaga?
It's basically you're in
an enclosed area.
Yeah, and then.
But enclosed, it's only like a square.
Yeah,
or 10 feet.
An octagon or something. It's some kind
of. An octagon. And then you kick the ball around, right?
Well, no, you can't. You can only touch it with your hands. If it touches your knees, if it touches above your knees, below your knees.
So
if you're below, then you're out.
It's like a modified dodgeball.
Yeah.
In a smaller area. Yeah. I had a lot of fun with that. Huh? Yeah. And now this year we did some little things a little differently, and Chris Ann Hall returned, and she's very popular. She's a wonderful instructor. She travels all over the country with her family, her son and her husband, talking about the Constitution, but she did a few interesting classes. One about famous ladies of the Revolution, right?
Yeah, she's one of my favorite speakers.
And what was interesting is that our field trip to the State House, she was with her husband and her boy, and there was a little bit of I guess we were like the last group getting in there, and security. There was another group coming in. So I said, it's going to be a little while. I said, let me just take you to a short trip down to the old granary burial ground, where one of her favorites, James Otis, is buried, and a few others, and Sam Adams and Robert Payne and John Hancock. So we took a quick little detour down there, and there was a lady who was, I guess, dressed in colonial attire, talking to people about the cemetery, and Chris Ann asked where Mrs. Adams, Sam Adams' wife, is buried, and she said, is she buried someplace? And the lady said she had an attitude, well, women weren't important then. Nobody cared about women and so forth. And Chris Ann corrected her. He said, oh, no. She said, that's wrong. She said women were very important. And she mentioned, who is her favorite woman? Mercy. Come on.
Mercy Otis.
What? Mercy Otis Warren. Don't tell me you forgot already. Mercy Otis Warren was the sister of James Otis, who was buried at the ground. Mercy's buried in Plymouth, by the way. We didn't know that until we got on our little cell phone and did a little Google search. But she was the wife of Dr. Warren, who was killed where? At the Battle of
Lexington.
Bunker Hill. Okay, you'll be getting it eventually, right? So, and of course, Mrs. Abigail Adams was the wife of Abigail Adams.
John Adams.
That's right, John Adams, and many other ladies. We talked about Pepperell, Massachusetts. Remember the all-female militia? And there was a lady who started and she actually stopped the British patrol. Her name was Prudence Wright. And of course, Deborah Sampson. Now, you know who Deborah Sampson was? She took the name of Robert Shurtleff, and she enlisted in the Continental Army, and they found that Robert Shurtleff was an ancestor of ours, I think a neighbor of hers. So women played a significant role in the idea that they were somehow chattel and just second-class citizens is nonsense. But that's the typical, what we call revisionist left-wing history, to denigrate. And Chris Ann was there to, put her in her, politely put her in her place. So I thought that was great. So let's see. We haven't. Chris Ann Hall is returning next year. We just sort of confirmed that. She'll be there for about 5 days. And hope to get a few other people. I won't mention their names until we get a confirmation. But you looking forward to next year's camp?
Yes, definitely.
And what would you do to make it better, if it can be? I mean, we can always improve. Less classes, more recreation?
No.
No?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think you got to keep a good balance. Well, again, the camp runs from July 10th to the 17th, 2016. And boy, there's all kinds of good information out there. You can visit the website, www.campconstitution.net, or the Facebook page. On the website, you can actually go to the YouTube channel. And we've only posted a few videos. We're in the process of posting many of the videos from this year's camp. But one of them, the one that's been up there already, is Fun Things from Camp Constitution. And it has a little clips of different things, recreation time and some of the field trips. And I think the line dancing that you guys were doing, that's up there already. And we're going to be, we just had a table and you ladies helped out at a table at a fair and near the camp in the Cheshire Fair, Cheshire County. That ended this past weekend, where we found lots of people interested in what we're doing. And so what else you have, Doc? What else? What other parting things you can say about the camp? Go ahead.
This is a lot of fun all together because of everything, like I said.
Okay. Madeline? The fact there's millions of people listening, it probably can be a little intimidating. So if it's just 500,000, it's not so bad. Besides that, they can't see you. It's radio, so you don't have to be too worried about it.
And when we're in the cabins, we get to decorate it.
Yeah.
It's all red, white, and blue. And it's a competition between all the other cabins. And there's the girls' cabin and the boys' cabin. And, yeah.
So that's a fun thing, too. So Campfire. It's like everything. In my opinion, it's not one thing that stands out, but it's sort of the whole.
Everything all together.
From the morning optional run and swim at 6:30, the classes, the field trips, the recreational activities, the good conversations people have, the friendships you make, campfire. And the campfire at night, it's interesting. Some of the new people, we're singing these old-fashioned songs, it's just about. And within a couple of days, they're really getting into it,
Yeah.
Grandfather's Clock. You don't see too many teenagers get excited about singing that Grandfather's Clock.
My Bonnie.
And My Bonnie. And then we have skits at the campfire and poetry reading and musical instruments and things of that nature. It's different. It's a different experience, but they really enjoy it. So, again, it's not any one thing, in my opinion. And I try to take advantage of everything and do a little bit of everything. So
Keep you busy.
Yeah, we had an older couple that have been supporters of the camp. We invited them this year. Last year they spent just one night, so they spent almost a whole week. And I asked him what he thought, and he said words can't express the great time they had. And it's easy to talk about it. It's like a commercial for something. You can see it looks pretty good. I'll go buy the product. But with the camp, you actually have to experience it to really appreciate it. I mean, you can watch a video, you can hear someone relate their experiences, but the best way is to experience it yourself. And I know that for some who are listening to this show, going to the camp might be kind of difficult. We try to make it easy for people. You can pick them up at airports and train stations and bus stations and drop them back off. And accommodate people as best as we can, being an all-volunteer organization. But the other challenge is, gee, I live in California, and I can't go all the way to New Hampshire that particular week. Why not start a camp where you are? And we'd be able to have a few people show up, maybe to help you get it going. And you don't have to be under our umbrella necessarily, but we can give you sort of this is our schedule. This is what we do. And we want to be able to sort of package it. We can, hey, let me get this package here and start our own camp. Just like the Patriot Camp. The Patriot Camp was started by two ladies. I can't remember where it was, Ohio or Indiana. It was designed to be sort of like a Bible camp. It's not a Bible camp. What do you call it? Vacation Bible school. That a lot of churches have, where they have what we call round robin type things.
Yeah.
So you'd have 10 or 12, 4 or 5 different stations, and it lasts like 4 hours every week, or 2 hours every day, and then do other activities.
3 days a week.
Well, so the Patriot Camp, we couldn't set it up quite that way, but it was we had they do a lot of history about our founders, and then we added to it as well. We even had karate instruction. One of our counselors is a 25th degree black belt or something or other, Haley Kalis, and 4th degree. I'm exaggerating a little bit. And we did that, and they did some drawing, some chalk drawing, right? They had one of our counselors was a graphic artist, and they did a flag, I think. It was really very, very excited. They were very excited. And then we had Garrett Lear, the Patriot pastor, come in and do with his wife, dressed up in colonial attire, and that was a lot of fun. So here we are. We're back. We had a little minor interruption here. So anyway, we're talking about the different activities at our great camp, and the goal is to, if you can't make it, listen to this show in California, and you say, boy, I'd like to do something like that here. Let's make it happen. Contact us. Give me a call at 857-498-1309, and we could probably help to make that possible. And also, if you go to our website, you'll see a sponsors page. Maybe you want to be a sponsor, advertise your organization, your company, make a donation. It doesn't have to be we'll accept $50 or more, and we'll put your ad there. But we can actually come out to your area, give a presentation on how a camp can be set up. It's some commitment, mostly time and some funds. It's not, you gotta find a venue, a location for the camp. You may want to have a week-long camp, maybe a weekend camp, and what kind of program, speakers, and volunteers, of course, needed. But it's something that's doable, and the bottom line is we have the freedoms and liberties to do these kinds of things. And unfortunately, the public schools will not be teaching this. Many private schools won't be teaching these things. And it's also a place, of course, a lot of this stuff's available online, of course. There's a lot of great online liberty entities, but something like this goes beyond just being online. It actually connects people. So, okay, well, with that, I want to thank you ladies for being on the show. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to have some of you people host the show. That'd be a great challenge, wouldn't it be, to host your own, have young people do the show and speak on current events and issues. Instead of having this grumpy old middle-aged guy with gray hair, you can have some young people on the show. What do you think? Oh, Camp Consrtitution, where you'd be household names. Think?
Maybe.
Millions of people listening? Oh, yeah. Anyway, with that, we want to thank you. God bless you, and we'll see you. We'll be talking to you next week.